about the action.
And a hot, cold season for the Fever defensively as Mitchell.
Saturday night in Indianapolis, Gainbridge Fieldhouse was supposed to be the center of pure celebration. A place where the WNBA's brightest stars would showcase their skills in front of the world. With the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game carrying the kind of anticipation the league had never experienced before. Fueled by record-breaking ticket sales, unprecedented media coverage, and an audience of 27 million viewers tuned in to watch history being made. Yet what happened in the aftermath would shift the spotlight. From the dazzling play on the court to a controversy that has since ignited one of the most polarizing debates in the history of women's basketball. With Colin Cowherd never known for sugarcoating his words, delivering a blistering, career-defining rant that did not just criticize but outright eviscerated. Los Angeles Sparks star Kelsey Plum for her tone-deaf postgame remarks aimed at Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation, whose very presence in the league has transformed the WNBA from a niche sports product into a mainstream cultural phenomenon. The night began with a coordinated moment of player activism, as both all-star teams jogged onto the hardwood wearing black t-shirts emblazoned with a bold, confrontational message across the chest, "Pay us what you owe us," a statement that instantly electrified the crowd, sent ripples through social media, and underscored the long-standing tensions between players and league management over salaries, revenue sharing, and respect. And while the demonstration was impactful and widely praised for its symbolism, what followed in the press conference took the conversation in a different direction entirely. Because when Kelsey Plum sat down to address reporters, instead of keeping the focus on the collective unity of the players, she chose to highlight an absence, a subtle but devastating jab, singling out Caitlin Clark's All-Star squad by saying, "Not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that." Words delivered with a smile but heard by millions as a betrayal. A cutting remark that suggested Clark and her teammates had distanced themselves from the solidarity moment, and in doing so, Plum inadvertently turned the celebration of player empowerment into a public shaming of the one athlete who has indisputably carried the league into relevance. And within hours, the backlash began to snowball, with commentators, fans, and media outlets weighing in. Some applauding Plum's candor, but many more condemning her for dragging Clark into the mud. And then came Monday morning, when Fox Sports 1's The Herd opened with Colin Cowherd leaning forward, eyes flashing with disbelief and anger, unleashing one of the most scathing monologues ever delivered on national sports television, a verbal demolition that instantly went viral, with Cowherd sarcastically dismissing the entire spectacle. "Stop talking. Why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines where the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now, you went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a Four Seasons in the shopping district, and you're taking shots at the person who got you the upgrade." His voice grew louder with each analogy, his frustration pouring through the screen, and the metaphors hit like thunderbolts, painting the WNBA's existence as an underfunded, struggling operation and its current boom as the direct result of Clark's drawing power. Cowherd doubled down, urging the veterans to grow up, to appreciate that their fight for bigger salaries and more leverage only has teeth because Clark's star power has drawn unprecedented attention, pointing out that television ratings had jumped an astonishing 170% year over year. That games featuring the Indiana Fever were now averaging 1.7 million viewers consistently. With some breaking past 3 million, that attendance figures had exploded with Indiana, selling out 17 of 20 home games and road arenas cashing in whenever the Fever came to town. And most importantly, that for the first time in its 27-year history, the WNBA was on the brink of profitability, after decades of losing $10 to $12 million annually, all because of the Caitlin Clark effect. Yet instead of gratitude, instead of recognizing that their new platform was built on the back of a rookie who hadn't even played a full season, veterans like Plum were taking potshots, undermining the very person who had given them leverage in the ongoing labor battle. Cowherd's rant was more than just fiery, it was a cold slap of reality, and what made it sting so deeply was the undeniability of the numbers. The way the statistics backed up every word, and in juxtaposing Clark's impact against Plum's criticism, Cowherd crystallized a truth that left no room for misinterpretation. Kelsey Plum, while a talented player, had never moved the needle for women's basketball the way Caitlin Clark had in just one season, and by turning the press conference into a platform to shame Clark's team, she had committed, in Cowherd's words, A terrible PR decision that only divided players at the very moment they needed unity. The irony of it all was suffocating, because the same veterans demanding respect and financial recognition were simultaneously alienating the rookie, whose unprecedented popularity was making those demands realistic, and that contradiction only fueled Cowherd's fire, leading him to conclude with a line that has since been replayed across highlight reels and podcasts: "It's time to grow up. Girls like fast." His words have sparked endless debate, with some accusing him of condescension and others praising him for saying out loud what millions were thinking. But regardless of which side you land on, the fallout is clear. Kelsey Plum's press conference comments have become the center of a firestorm that shows no signs of cooling down, and the league itself is now caught in the crossfire, forced to confront the uncomfortable tension between the veterans who laid the groundwork and the newcomer who, the span of months, has dragged the entire WNBA into the mainstream spotlight. Because whether one likes it or not, Caitlin Clark is the reason ratings are soaring, arenas are filling, and conversations about salaries are finally happening at a national level. And every time a veteran takes a shot at her instead of embracing the momentum, they risk not only alienating the fan base Clark has brought in but also jeopardizing the very future of the sport they claim to be fighting for.
Parker, as Johannes hits the three.
It's like complaining about the size of your slice while spitting in the face of the person who baked and served you the pie, and that pie metaphor, dripping with truth and frustration, perfectly frames the absurdity that unfolded after the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis, where a night that should have been nothing but a celebration of talent, unity, and progress instead dissolved into controversy, bitterness, and what Colin Cowherd would later describe as one of the most self-sabotaging moves in recent sports history, because to understand why his explosive defense of Caitlin Clark resonated so powerfully with millions of fans and casual observers alike, you have to step back and really appreciate what Clark has accomplished in less than a single calendar year as a professional athlete. Achievements that aren't just impressive, they are unprecedented, seismic, and transformative on a level that even the league itself seemed unprepared for. Before Clark ever stepped foot into a WNBA arena, she had already rewritten the history books of college basketball by breaking the NCAA Division I all-time scoring record, men's or women's, with an astonishing 3,685 career points, while simultaneously leading her Iowa Hawkeyes to back-to-back national championship appearances, something no women's team had done since the days of UConn's dynasty in 2009. And along the way, she turned women's college basketball into must-see television, with her games outdrawing men's March Madness matchups on multiple occasions, her Final Four appearances creating ticket markets where the average walk-in price for her games actually surpassed blue blood men's programs. A feat so unheard of it sent shockwaves through the sports world, and the proof of her impact was so undeniable that when her injury sidelined her late in the season, the average ticket price to see Iowa plummeted from $121 down to just $64, instantly confirming that Caitlin Clark wasn't just another star, she was the star, the gravitational force around which interest, attendance, and revenue revolved. So when the Indiana Fever drafted her number 1 overall, she didn't just join the WNBA, she transformed it overnight. And that transformation showed up in every measurable metric. Merchandise sales shattered records, with Clark jerseys selling out in minutes both online and in retail stores. Television networks rushed to the negotiating table, signing new broadcast deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars, because advertisers and sponsors were suddenly eager to be associated with a product they had ignored for decades. Nike handed her an 8-tier $28 million endorsement deal, the richest contract in women's basketball history. A deal so significant that it wasn't just about shoes, but about staking a claim on the face of the sport for the next decade. Gatorade built an entire marketing campaign around her, even crafting a signature flavor in her honor, while Wilson designed a signature basketball, something that had previously been reserved only for generational icons like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James in the men's game, which is why commentators and analysts rightly began describing her impact as Michael Jordan level in a league that had never seen anything remotely comparable. Because in every single tangible way, from ticket sales, to ratings, to sponsorships, to cultural relevance, Clark wasn't just participating in the WNBA, she was carrying it, dragging it from the fringes of the sports landscape into the mainstream conversation. Yet despite this breathtaking revolution, despite the fact that every single player in the league was directly benefiting from her presence, whether they admitted it or not, What happened after the All-Star Game was shocking, frustrating, and too many fans unforgivable. Because when both All-Star squads took the floor during warm-ups, wearing black t-shirts that read "Pay us what you owe us." A powerful collective statement about salary negotiations and fair compensation. It was a moment of unity, solidarity, and defiance that instantly electrified the building. But in the post-game press conference, Kelsey Plum, an 8-tier veteran, former #1 overall pick, college champion, and all-star guard for the Los Angeles Sparks, decided to reveal that there had been a meeting earlier in the day to coordinate the protest. And in doing so, she slipped in a dagger that would ignite an inferno, saying with a smirk, "Not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that." A comment that wasn't just a throwaway aside but a deliberate, targeted jab designed to highlight Caitlin Clark and her teammates' absence, and whether or not that absence was intentional, unavoidable, or simply a scheduling miscommunication didn't matter, because the damage was done, and Plum's words had transformed what should have been a shining moment of player unity into a divisive spectacle that cast the league's brightest star as an outsider, someone disconnected from the collective. And when millions heard that soundbite replayed across ESPN, FS1, social media, and YouTube, the immediate interpretation was clear. This was jealousy dressed up as honesty, resentment cloaked